So again it is us Supnit's classes. So this is our next lesson on rotational motion. In our first video we have studied about the rigid body and non-rigid body. So we have already discussed what is a rigid body, and we will only consider rigid body in our further discussions that we are doing right now. So before going into rotational motion again, there is another basic thing that we are going to do right now. We are going to classify the motion. So the motion that we have studied in class 9 and the motion that we are going to study in class 10th. So as you can see, it is already divided into two parts. So one is linear or translational motion and another is rotational motion. So first of all, if I talk about linear or translational motion, then it is like this. Suppose I have a body like this. This is a body and I put a force like this. So this body will move in this direction. This is as per Newton's law. The force acting on a body, the movement will be along that side which side the force is applied. So movement will be along the direction of the force. That is the physics language. Movement will be along the direction of the force. So as you can see over here, please note down this. If there is a stationary rigid body which is free to move, okay, so we are considering a rigid body, this one, which is free to move. Okay, so I am applying some force to it. What do you mean by which is free to move? Which is free to move means that there is no restrictions on its movement. So when I will apply a force along a certain direction, the body will move towards that direction. So it will move along a straight line path on the application of the force. That means the body will move along the line of application of the force, such that its motion is in the direction of the applied force. That's what we have said. The body will move along the direction of the applied force. So such a straight line motion where the body is moving along the direction of the applied force is called linear motion or translational motion. So they have given you an example of football where if I hit the football with my leg, the ball will move along the direction of the force that I have put forward by my leg. So that is what linear motion is, and that is what we have studied in class 9 on a brief basis. Now in class 10th we are going to study another part which is called rotational motion. So we have to first understand what is rotational motion. So now if I consider let us take a small wooden stick. So if I put some force onto this like this, then it will move to this direction that we know as per the theory that we have studied right now in linear motion. Now if I have put one nail and pivot it by this nail onto the wall and I give a force in the upward direction, okay, so in this case this body is no more free to move in all direction. If it would have not been pivoted and I give a force in the upward direction, it would have moved along the line of the application of the force. But at this moment it is pivoted, so it is basically not free to move in all directions. Okay, so what will happen now? Now this body is going to have this kind of movement. This will move like this. I hope you are able to trace the motion of the body. So what did it form? It formed a circular motion. So this motion is called rotational motion or circular motion with this pivot at its center. It may not be necessarily the center. It is basically the pivoted point. So about the pivoted point this stick has moved. So I'll just clear this to make our understanding a little bit easier in our next part. Okay, so actually at this moment you have understood what is linear motion and what is rotational motion. So now if I go to into the definitions, then if a rigid body is pivoted, whatever you say, such that it can turn around that pivot, so it has turned around about this pivoted point, then the application of the force on this rigid body will rotate the body about the pivot. So now, just now we have shown it rotated the body about its pivot, that you have seen already. So the application of force will rotate the body about its pivot. Okay. Now it will not be able to describe linear motion. So previously I shown you that if there was no pivot, it would have been a linear motion, but here it was pivoted, so it will not be linear motion, it will show a rotational motion. Such a motion described by the rigid body about the pivot or an axis is called rotational motion. So I hope the rotational motion is clear to you. So if a body is pivoted around a point, it will show rotational motion. If it is free to move, it will show linear or translational motion. For example here a nice example is given. If you see now, right now, for example, if a force is applied on the door of the room, so please I would request you right now to go towards any door, bathroom, room, or anywhere else. Go there, see the hinge part, or this one part of the door is pivoted in your door. Please notice, go to a door and notice. Take your mobile, if you are having a mobile, if you are watching the video on this mobile, then you take your mobile and go towards the door. You see the door is hinged. So please try to understand this with real life examples. The door is in your room, that is why I have chosen this example. So it is hinged. This hinge is basically the pivot that I am talking about. This is the pivoted point. So now if you push or pull the door, it is showing basically either if you pull this, it will open the door. So this is a rotational motion, or if you push this, it will close the door. So it is also rotational motion. Now there can be two types of rotational motion that I want to discuss right now. So rotational motion can be either clockwise or anti-clockwise. So if you see which one is clockwise, so if this is a clock in your room, 12:3:9:6. So how does the clocks move? It moves clockwise. So this movement is called clockwise, the movement of the clock, and any movement that is opposite to it is called anti-clockwise. So if you see over here the example of the door, if you pull this door like this, then the movement is basically, movement of the door is like this. Okay, so it is basically anti-clockwise movement if you see, and if you push this door, then the movement is like this. So if you trace this path, then it will be a clockwise movement. So rotational motion can be of two types. One is clockwise, another is anti-clockwise. So please note down everything that has been explained in this video about linear motion and rotational motion. Another name of linear motion is translational motion. Please note down everything with the example, and also note down that rotational motion or linear motion that we have studied over here is only applicable to the rigid bodies. We have only considered rigid bodies and not non-rigid bodies. Rotational motion is only possible if the body we are considering will be pivoted to a point, otherwise it will be not. Please note down this thing. Rotational motion has a condition. What is the condition? The body has to be pivoted to a point, otherwise they will not have rotational motion. If a body is completely free to move, it will undergo linear motion. If the body is pivoted at a point, it will undergo rotational motion. The rotational motion is having two types. One is clockwise, another is anti-clockwise. Please pause the video at places wherever required and do note down everything that has been explained in this video, so that it becomes a complete study material for you. We could have supplied you the study material, but the supplying study material will only fill up your almirah and nothing else. I can give you the xerox of all these things, but it will not help really. So it is always better to take down the notes from the video. So every video you see for this chapter or any chapter that we release, you will always Carry a pen and paper and watch the video and note down. Pause wherever required, rewind and again see and again note down, so that everything comes into your mind. Whatever I am doing in the video, you also will repeat that to understand the video contents in very clearly, because the content is important. Video is not important, the content is very important. So the content, you have to understand the content. As a subject, you have to understand the content. Thank you.